Welcome, friends, for a very special episode of Liberty is Peachy. I'm your host, Kenyatta Kinlach, and in this episode, I'll be joined by 3 ACLU of Georgia volunteers who've been hard at work taking action ahead of the general election in November. Hearing the unique perspectives of each volunteer through an international and multi-generational lens was a real treat. I know you'll enjoy. Well, first off, I just want to say that I am personally excited to have this conversation with each of you, because the way I first started out with ACLU of Georgia was volunteering. And I remember coming from a place of like, okay, there's a lot going on in the world right now, and I'm feeling like I need to be more civically engaged and be more active and deliberate behind that. And, you know, with that comes like a lot of personal reasons on why and how we choose to get involved. So again, I'm super excited to hear some more from the both of you, or each of you on that specifically, because I think that that'll really inspire our listeners to get out there as well as each of you do in your own personal, unique ways. So first off, I just want to have each of you introduce yourselves. We can start with Anita, if you will.
Yes, my name is Anita Brown. I live in Powder Springs, Georgia, by way of Columbus, Ohio.
Okay.
And I just got a Gmail from ACLU, and I read it, and they needed volunteers, and so I answered.
Awesome.
And I also do phone banking for the Democratic Party of Georgia, and also Next Generation.
Okay, that's fantastic. And I heard you say Cobb County. I'm Cobb County also, so.
Oh, okay. Where do you live?
Mableton, right on the border of Mableton and Smyrna.
Okay, I used to live in Mableton and Smyrna.
Okay, yep, I'm right along the Silver Comet.
Yeah, and now I'm in,
Doggers.
now we're in Powder Springs near the Silver Comet.
Yep.
So you kind of know where we are.
That's right.
But I've been actually doing this for a long time. I'm 69. I lived through the civil rights of the 50s and 60s. I never thought we would be back here again, but here we are. And so that's why I'm here.
Yeah, absolutely. And up next we'll do Fabio.
Yeah, can you hear me well?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, well, hi everybody. My name is Fabio Sanchez. I am 22 years old. I moved to Athens about 5 years ago from Peru, and I go to Georgia State. I am a public policy major with a nonprofit concentration, and I've actually been following ACLU's work for a few years now, and I knew they opened a new office in Athens, so I found it the perfect time to volunteer.
Awesome, absolutely. And then Jennica.
Yeah, hi, I'm Jennica Hill. I live in Castleberry Hill in Atlanta right now.
Okay.
I'm originally from Boise, Idaho, and went to school in Los Angeles, but my now husband went to Georgia Tech, so that's kind of what brought me to Atlanta.
Okay.
And I love it here. I'm like obsessed with the city. Yeah. And for me, yeah, I got involved with the ACLU. Well, I kind of got more involved in politics after I went to the Women's March in DC, and kind of I marched with the NAACP in 2016, and those were my first like feelings of, oh, I can actually do something.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just remember getting a lot of emails from the ACLU, friends getting involved with things they did, and I felt like everything was very educational, and I felt like I really got a lot out of everything I did with the ACLU, and they were like, you can actually come to the Capitol and we'll show you how to talk to your senators and and I was like, that's so valuable. So then I was kind of hooked after that.
Right. That's how I'm like going back to like me, like when I first got involved too, because I remember being like, oh my God, we can do that. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And thank each of you for that, because you kind of touched on some things that I want to cover. With my first official question being, how long have each of you been volunteering? And we can kind of popcorn it, whoever wants to jump in, and we can guide the conversation, navigate it like that.
I've been volunteering since I think June, and I usually volunteer in person, and I was trying to find volunteer opportunity that could be over the phone or online. And then I have a friend that she knows Adam, who's the campaign organizer here in Athens.
Yes, that's right. Shout out to Adam.
Yes.
Hi, Adam.
Hi, Adam.
But yeah, I mean, she told me her experience, and I really like ACLU because it covers like a range of social issues.
Totally.
And yeah, I think that's so not too long, but yeah.
Yeah, but that means that, you know, you're that urge to want to get involved and be civically engaged. That's exciting to have that be fresh, and it's very during a very important time. So absolutely. Anybody else, Jennica or Anita?
Well, I've probably been, oh, sorry, Anita, you go.
No, go ahead, Jennica, go ahead.
Okay. I've probably been volunteering off and on since 2017, but it's really ramped up now, obviously, with the election so close. And yeah, Adam, he hosts such great phone banking parties that I'm hooked. But also I have, you know, I'm an actor in Atlanta. And so like auditions have been super slow, obviously, during this time. And then I work from home otherwise. So it's just been so easy to do the virtual stuff. So I've been doing it a lot since probably, June or something.
Yeah, and that's a very important point to hit on, Jennica, is that that's an option to do it virtually during a pandemic, you know? So thankful for Adam and all the cool work that I'm glad that you guys are excited about. Cool. And Anita, I know you had something.
No, I was just saying, like I said, I've off and on since I was a kid.
Yeah.
My father was very involved in equal rights. And, you know, like I said, I just grew up in that era with Martin Luther King. And in Columbus, Ohio, we had a Reverend Hale, who was very close to Martin Luther King. And, you know, so in Columbus, Ohio, we were very aware of what was going on. I went to a high school that had one of the first Black principals, and so we were always under the microscope of, you know, being an all-Black high school with a Black principal. And so, so we were, you know, we always had demonstrations. We always had to march and sit in, and so, you know, now we're back to this again. And for present day, I would say that I started getting involved once we started sheltering in place. And so, as I said, I have MS, and so I don't drive any longer. And so for me, phone banking is how I give back. Because when in 2016, I was in Atlanta in the Women's March, and I was in my scooter, you know, and I could get around, I could still drive and break my scooter down and put it back together and march. But now I can't, you know, I'm not able to drive. So for me, anything I can do for any type of issue that I believe in, then that's why I'm with the ACLU, because they're concerned about a whole host of issues.
Absolutely.
So, and I just answered ACLU email by a fluke, really. You know, and it was from Adam, and so I hooked.
Yeah, and you know what? That's how it goes sometimes. I think for me, I was scrolling on Twitter one day and I saw a tweet. I was like, oh, I've been looking for something. So, and again, super excited to have this conversation again because of the incredible perspective that not just you, Anita, but that each of you bring when it comes to civic engagement. So my next question is, what led you to volunteering? Were there any specific things or moments in time, like anything that happened that you were like, whoa, like, you know, this is like, now I gotta do something? Were there any points in time for each of you or anything that made you get into the zone to say?
Yeah, definitely. For me, when I think it was when Philando Castile was killed that week, I was just like, no. Like for me, I think, being white, and I grew up in Idaho and it's not very diverse. I think living in Atlanta during that time, it really hit me even harder than, I mean, it always hits you hard, but it doesn't necessarily affect you if it doesn't affect you. And I don't know how to explain that, but you know what I mean? Like it really pissed me off. And I was like, I have to do something. So the NAACP had a march, and that was like the first time I was like, yeah, I can't. It was the first time I knew I couldn't not do things like this. Like I knew that I couldn't sit back. I couldn't just let injustice happen in my country, and I had to use my privilege for power somehow, however I could figure it out. So that was the moment for me.
Absolutely. And did either of you other ladies have one thing you wanted to say?
Mine might be a little lame, but when I was in school, I had this local citizenship class that really opened my eyes on, what local government, what kind of impact it has on an everyday life. So after that, I just started to get really involved and just get more information about it. And my volunteer in Athens, or with the ACLU of Athens, has been more local focused because we have a lot of we're electing a bunch of local officials this year as well in November. So I thought it was important to get the information out and tell potential voters hey, like your local needs can be addressed this way, and the only thing you have to do is just pay attention, just participate, just vote, and you can become an empowered citizen. And yeah, I think that was the moment for me.
And girl, that's not lame at all. To me, that shows
no, not at all.
To me, especially up against like hearing from each of the other ladies, it's like the many different ways in which you can become involved. So that's fantastic.
Thank you.
I think of George Floyd really made me know that I had to use my voice in whatever way. I have 3 sons. I have 3 grandsons. Well, really it was Ahmaud. It was Ahmaud. That's what really, when Ahmaud was gunned down, that really hurt. That was just unthinkable. Here, son who runs every morning before the sun comes up. He lives in Mapleton. And my granddaughter got hysterical when all this happened because she knows her father goes out and he runs. And so she did not want him to run anymore. So that made me think, all the anxiety these young kids are going through, especially kids of color, because you can't go outside, you can't run, you can't walk to the store, you can't wear a hoodie, and I'm just tired of it.
Yeah.
And so I just know that we just have a lot of work to do, and basically I think it's heart work. What you feel in your heart.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's ever going to come to a good conclusion.
Right. And you know what, Anita, that is very impactful coming from you, because earlier in our conversation you kept saying, now we're having to do this again, and it's having to go through, what you've already gone through in the past during the civil rights era. So I really, and this is a side off question I want to ask you, like, how does it feel to have to be pushed to this point of like, all right, we all have to be involved and get it to do something after having gone through, that era. What does that feel like for you?
I'm just very angry because, I don't know what more we have to do, what people of color have to do to just be left alone to live our lives like everybody else. lives their lives. And it's just, I'm just very angry about it. And I shouldn't, at 69, I just feel like I should, I'm a senior citizen. I don't feel like I'm a senior citizen. In my head, I still feel like I'm like 21,
And that's what it's all about, absolutely.
but it's like, wow, I can remember looking at TV when we had black and white TV and watching in Columbus, Ohio, and watching the young kids in Atlanta, Georgia be hosed down and German dogs biting them, and here we are again.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't have any answers. I really don't. Other than we did everything we were told that we had to do, pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, even though we didn't have any boots. Okay, but we found a way to have boots, and we pulled ourselves up. And every time we pulled ourselves up, white folks burned our towns down or told us we couldn't live in a certain area. For my dad, who graduated from Florida A&M and then was drafted into World War II, okay, and then came back out of the service, and he and my mom got married, and they settled in Columbus, Ohio, and he graduated from Ohio State and couldn't teach in Columbus, Ohio, because all the black schools had teachers, and none of the white schools would let black people teach. So I grew up with a man who was angry because he had a college degree,
yeah,
and he could not teach. Okay, so he worked for the post office over 30 years, and that's what brought us into the middle class, was that my dad got a job at the United States Postal Service. And now look at what's happening to the Postal Service.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, this is such an invaluable conversation because of just the points of, your experience, the points that you make, to see people who, like your father, used the USPS to provide his family with a way of life for 30 years.
And he was not given the opportunity to use the GI Bill to buy a home.
And to hear this perspective from you, I see your T-shirt. I know I had to note it, Anita, the Good Trouble T-shirt.
Yeah, friend. I've lived all over the United States, but now in Georgia, a friend of mine has a former student who makes these shirts. She sells these shirts, so I'm helping her business. Helping her business. So if anyone, let me know.
Absolutely. Thank you. And my next question is, what have you liked most about volunteering?
So, it definitely has been fun and rewarding, especially with, the team that you guys have here in Athens. Adam has been really helpful and hardworking. So I like that I've been able to talk to different people and listen to the different concerns and just help them out finding, their poll location or just register for them to vote. We actually, last week on Sunday, we did a phone banking, a bilingual one. So everything was in Spanish. So we were just reaching out to Hispanic people here in Athens. And I think that was really fun. We didn't really get to speak a lot of Spanish because most people speak English, but that was really fun. But I've also been able to be in different situations that I wouldn't find myself in, that I've been able to learn from, like with people that have different views than myself. So yeah, it's just been really fun overall.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, pretty much the same for me. I've really enjoyed just talking to people. And even though you'll get some people that are annoyed or hang up or whatever, it's like that one person who just really needs your help that day and is like, yeah, can you have somebody, bring me a ballot or I didn't know I could vote early. Like I was text banking and this one person, you know, there were some like really mean people. And then one person was just like, oh, I had no idea I could vote early. This is so great because my husband really wanted like us to vote by mail and I didn't want to, but like I didn't want to go on election day. I was like, well,
Right.
this is great. And it's like the moments like that. And I feel like it's
Yeah.
find connection right now. So I think it's been really nice to connect with others and feel them connecting with me. And I've gotten some friends involved to like volunteer with me. And so it's been fun reconnecting with them and with everyone who volunteers that I don't know. So I think, yeah, connection and like realizing that we all sort of have these shared values that we really want to fight for. And that's nice to know. You feel like you're in less of a void.
Totally.
I like, I like the Zoom thing, you're
Yeah.
getting to meet people that you probably would never meet or
Mhm.
know, especially because of the fact that we are carrying on our meetings before we start doing the phone banking. You're meeting people through Zoom, which, I never would have known any of you guys if it hadn't been this pandemic. That's the only good thing, I guess you can say.
Pandemic silver
People are
lining.
finding
Yeah.
a new way to communicate.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I like that. I like meeting new people, and you can't judge a book by its cover. So that's what I'm learning too. Because people that I would think would be the least person that would feel like I feel, I'm finding, that's not true. So.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And my next question is, well, first I'll say, for me as someone who is a part of ACLU of Georgia, one thing day in and day out that keeps me like excited and like ready to come in and do the work is just like knowing that there are so many things that need care and need attention. And I'm like, okay, like today, okay, what we got going on today? All right, let's go down the list, because to me, it's such a pleasure to be able to see like the payoff of like the work that we do. And I'm talking about the work that we do with our volunteers, especially like, for example, legislative session, when we like are calling on our volunteers to take action, to whether it's call somebody at the Capitol, and then to see at the end of the day the results of that, saying, hey, we flooded whoever's mailbox to let them know where we stand on this issue. So that's what I love about it. But I want to know, what keeps each of you actively engaged and ready to come back time and time again to volunteer with us? Because your perspective on that to our listeners is invaluable.
Well, I think because I'm a news junkie, which I shouldn't be. I have to turn the news off because too much of it just,
Yeah.
But but I think things that spark me in the news makes me want to get, because there are times I'm like, I could spend all day on the phone. That's how many organizations every day I'm getting, to help text or help do this or help do that. So you really could fill up your whole day in connecting to people to vote. So when I hear something that just bugs me, especially when I feel like, oh, I just don't feel like talking on the phone today, I just want to veg out, then something that I see or hear on the news prompts me to say, okay, you can't stop, got to keep on going.
That's right. And that's an excellent point
that you make,
because, because for me, it's like whenever I see something on the news, whether it's like upsetting or like whatever, that's the thing though. Instead of being like, oh, like, I guess it's like drowning in misery, you remember you have this resource and you're connected to this resource that will allow you to affect change and make an impact on these things that are, the issues.
You may never see, but it's the purpose. I think it's the purpose to try to help people get out, connect.
Right, and not to sound cliche or cheesy, but like it's the journey. Awesome. Let me see. I have another. Another question that I have is, are there any local issues, specifically and especially ahead of the general election, that you've encountered, or that you, or like maybe things that we should be more aware of, that we should pay attention to, or anything like that?
Yeah, so for me, like an issue I really care about is making sure that the abortion ban doesn't go through. I was really happy that it didn't, and it can't. But I know y'all are really aware of that issue. But I have this like story. I'll tell it very quickly. But one Thanksgiving, I was like buying cloth napkins or something, which is so silly. But I come out and there's a guy who's sitting there and he like really needs help and tells me to call the cops, but he's clearly doesn't have a place to live, and he's, you know, it was November and his legs were, you know, bare from the knee down, and they looked to be almost like getting not frostbite, but, you know, windburn and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And an older gentleman, and he asked me to call the police, and I was like, oh, why? And I was like, are you okay? Of course I will, you know. And he basically just wanted to get to Florida because his brother was there and could help him. And, you know, this police officer came, and he had no idea how to help. And so for me, I don't know, going through the whole thing, I ended up buying the guy a megabus ticket, but he wouldn't get rid of his stuff, so the megabus wouldn't take him. It was a whole thing. It was on Thanksgiving, though, so it felt a little like, you know, meant or something. But It was terrible. And I was like, and a police officer even called me to be like, he won't get on the megabus. And I was like, what do you want me to do about it? I don't, you know, I know this person. Like, help him. Take him somewhere that can actually help him. And so, you know, mental health initiatives and like finding ways for like us to have resources for people who need help other than just like going to jail or the hospital, which were really his two options, you know? That just,
story.
Oh, I was like, what's happening? Because I, as an individual, I just didn't have the resources to really help other than drive him to Florida, which I nearly did because I was just like, this is ridiculous. But anyway.
Well, that's the kind of person that you are, A, but B, that illuminates an array of incredible issues that we have in that one instance, in that one interaction between a citizen and, well, two citizens. And wow.
Mm-hmm.
So absolutely. And then Anita and Fabio, did either of you have anything you wanted to add for that?
Yeah, so for like Athens, there's really a lot going on. It's a really poor county. I mean, the poorest in Georgia, the fifth in the country.
Yep.
So there's a lot going on, and I mean, we have so many, like the education system here at the local level. You know, we want police reform and public safety and accessible and affordable housing, because I mean, it's such a poor county, but it has almost the same prices as Atlanta for rent. So it's really outraging. And I think like many landmark policies, they originated at a local level. So, you know, change at a local level could potentially result in a state level change or even federal. So with the current situation that we have, I think it's really important to have the right people in charge, because if we have the right people in charge here, then, you know, we might have it, you know, in the House of Representatives or the Senate, and then, you know, so on. So.
Absolutely. And you, again, highlight an excellent point of, that's why engaging locally is so important, in voting down that ballot and engaging with these races that affect the everyday life for local people is so important. And Athens specifically it's an international hub. It is. Yeah. And that should be reflected within the community. So to hear your firsthand perspective with working with this community, again, is invaluable. So thank you for that.
You know, I've learned how some of the incumbent representatives have been in their positions for 18, 19, 20 years and haven't done anything towards the issues that their constituents are concerned about. So that because I've been attending meetings and also doing the phone banking, then I'm learning in these certain house districts what's going on and why there needs to be change. And that's at the local level. I would have never even thought about looking into what this incumbent is doing and what this person is doing and how they're it seems like they've traded money for fixing the policy, or the issue. And so that's one good thing I think about getting involved in your local government.
Totally.
Can I add one?
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing is with gentrification, which I know, Anita, you were talking about, I am super concerned with the fact that our property tax law is so messed up and that people, your property taxes go up even before you sell your house, which to me makes no sense because then when somebody lives in an area for so long and new people come in and the housing prices go up, but it's not like the property tax just goes up when you sell your house. It goes up astronomically for these people who live in the area still. So to me, that is like what's displacing people, a lot of it. And so I'm just very confused by it. I really want someone to explain why it is like that. And I'm like, what are we going to do about it? And then I'm really concerned with the new development in the quarry area and like Microsoft coming in because, and I sent like a note to Bill and Melinda Gates that they'll probably never see, but I'll still do it. But I was like, you need to do something about this. You need to make sure that you're not displacing everyone in this area. And so I'm very concerned about that. And I'm writing a show with four other women about gentrification called Intersection. And so
what Jennica, what about the Microsoft?
Yeah, like Microsoft.
They're building a new facility.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, headquarters.
Yeah.
Or headquarters where in Atlanta?
Yeah.
Okay, I missed that.
Mm-hmm. In like an extremely impoverished part of the city too. So it's
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's gonna transform that area for sure. Yeah. And,
are they planning to put in low income housing or?
I don't know. I know Bill Gates probably will say that, but will it actually be affordable? Who knows? I don't know. But that's something I want to like start writing a ton of letters and just get everybody like amped.
That's what I was about to say. Yeah, because these are the kinds of things that we should look to our public officials and our elected officials for answers. Like we should look to them for answers, and we should hold them accountable to provide us with those answers.
Mm-hmm.
And opportunities like volunteering. And you know what? I'm so glad. I'm so glad that the virtual during this pandemic is still engaging and exciting, because I promise, like, when we can gather again for volunteer opportunities for other things we have going on, just the and this is a volunteering shameless plug, absolutely. But the relationships you can make, because I'm so excited to connect with each of you after this as ACLU of Georgia supporters, the relationships that you can make. And to me, that's what it's all about, because those relationships, who knows what we can gather together to create and to move forward and to be innovative behind. So I say all that to say thank each of you. Volunteers truly are. And I was doing some voting promo for some stuff that we've got coming out earlier today. And a point that I was thinking is, like, volunteers are the heart and soul of what we do. Like, you provide the base and the voice behind our organization when we get to do things like showing up at the state capitol and holding these elected officials accountable. So thank each of you personally, and I'll even do it on behalf of everyone at ACLU of Georgia on staff, because we couldn't do it without you guys. So thanks for your time for this conversation. Was there anything else that any of you wanted to add or anything like that?
It's been very interesting and appreciative that, we can put faces, voices, and emails. And so, I intend to continue to volunteer as long as I can.
We appreciate that.
And just cannot wait for November the 3rd to get here.
All right, friends. that takes care of another episode. Thank you so much for listening. And I hear you, Anita. To check your voter status and or register to vote ahead of the November 3rd election, visit acluga.org/register me. The deadline to register is October 5th, so make sure you get that taken care of ASAP. Thanks again to Anita, Fabio, and Jennica. Volunteers truly are the heart and soul of our organization, and we could not do work of this importance without you. For information on how you can get involved with the ACLU of Georgia, visit acluga.org/volunteer. To check out all the work we do here at the ACLU of Georgia, visit acluga.org. And be sure to follow us on social media across platforms at ACLU of GA for updates and interactive ways for you to engage with the platform. Go ahead and follow, subscribe, and leave a review on whichever streaming service you use to stay peachy and catch up with the podcast. I'm your host, Kenyatta Kinlach, reminding you to listen like your rights depend on it. Until next time.